We're now on session 5, multinational corporations. Multinational corporations. And under this session, we expect to learn certain things about the multinational corporation. Recall that our topic is still international accounting, and in session 4 we discuss issues around IFRS, adoption of IFRS in Nigeria, and all that. And in this new session we are going to learn we're going to learn about the concept of international multinational corporations. At the end of this session, we are expected to independently explain the concept of multinational corporations. We are also expected to discuss the characteristics of multinational corporations. We are also expected to highlight the pros and cons of multinational corporations. Equally, we are expected to discuss the relationship between multinational corporations and consolidated financial statement. And lastly, we will discuss the accounting issues. We're expected to, discuss accounting issues around multinational corporations. So, like I said, session 5 will take us to multinational corporations, and in these sessions, after this session, students are expected to explain, to know what multinational corporations are all about. That is the concept of multinational corporations. Where students are also expected to discuss the characteristics of multinational corporations. Students are equally expected to highlight the pros and cons of multinational corporations, and then discuss multinational corporations in relation to consolidated financial statements, and lastly the accounting issues around multinational corporations. So we begin by looking at the concept of multinational corporations. By definition, multinational corporations, or MNCs, they are entities or businesses that are established in one country and operate in other countries. What do I mean? You establish a business here in Nigeria, and that business has grown so much that it does business in South Africa, it does business in New York, it does business in Ghana and others. So when a business or a company or an entity is established in country A, and that business also does business, that company also have operating presence in countries B, C, or D, as the case may be, is said to be a multinational corporation. That's to say that that entity does business in more than one company. So you may define it, or we can define it as business entity that operates in more than one country. Simple. There are international companies that have parent companies with branches and subsidiaries in different other companies. So that is what is meant by multinational company, or international company, as the case may be, or transnational company, as the case may be. So I am saying here that multinational companies may equally be called international companies or transnational companies. Now, there's some important information we need to know about multinational companies. One is that they have a parent company that is headquartered in country A, or home country. They have branches or subsidiaries in host countries that you may call country B, C, or D, as the case may be. The branches or subsidiaries operate not only to achieve special objectives for themselves, but also they achieve general objectives of the multinational company as a whole. That's to say that there is an overriding objective for a multinational company that is being achieved by the subsidiary in addition to the specific objective of the subsidiary. So the parent company works under the laws of the home country, while the foreign branches subsidiaries work under the laws of the host countries. The company must be controlling, foreign offices, production policies, and what have you. The product being produced, suit the particular region, and things like that. So these are some of the silent information that we must know about multinational corporations. Now, characteristics of multinational corporations. Characteristics of multinational corporations. 1. Geographical spread. One of the things that we can easily see or know about multinational companies is that they have geographical spread. We're saying here that the headquarters is in the home country, while the subsidiaries or the branches are in other host countries. So they have presence in more than one country. So there is a geographical spread that places them in considerable flexible positions because of the wide range of multiple options that they have in decision making. Decision making as regards to sourcing, as regards to pricing, as regards to financing, and all that. So the best multinational is able to take advantage of changes in economic, environment, internationally. So what are we saying here? That because they have that geographical spread, they are privileged to take advantage of the economic environment in the respective countries where they operate. Now, efficiency. We have talked about geographical spread as one of the characteristics of multinational companies. The second characteristic is efficiency. Now, the magnitude of available resources for these companies enables them to distribute the resources, wherever they want in different countries of the world. All right, they have the resources. They have, a quantum of resources that they distribute to various environments to take advantage of, whatever that is available there. All right, so in terms of efficiency, allocative efficiencies, they have the resources and they allocate these resources to various regions, to various environments to take advantage of what is. So there is that allocative efficiency associated with multinational corporations, and their businesses. So they transport investments, they transport people, they transport money, they transport materials, they transport technical know-how and all that. All these are managed from a global and national perspective. This attitude of globalization in management thinking, that's what makes the athletes, that's the means by which the athletes are managed and controlled by the headquarters in the home country. That's about efficiency. Let's talk about power as another characteristic. And the multinational companies are said to have this attribute of power, and that is as a result of their size and geographical spread. That size, and geographical spread, the scope of operations, and the efficiency, accords power to them. They wield that power, as a result of their size, as a result of their presence in different environments, as a result of the large scope of operations that they have. So that is, one of the things you can, one of the attributes you can find in multinational corporations. So it is normal for multinationals, to record, huge sales, huge sales than, even what you can find in some, in the GDP of certain countries, in the GDP of certain countries, you can find a multinational that can, that can, that has a scope of operation that is quite larger than that. So the multinationals, they are giants, among local firms, and they have their power, the economic power, even political power. They wield some political power as a result of this, sheer size. So for these, the multinationals, they transcend national boundaries and controls, and tend to have that potential to influence world affairs, in some cases. Yeah. So we look at another attribute, and flexibility. Because of the size and scope, multinationals in most cases, have this flexibility, that they operate with a certain level of, flexibility. The excellent economic system that they possess enables them, to operate a decentralized operation that serves the needs, of the different environments that they meet, that they have presence in, and also permit, kind of a centralized direction, that assures, that makes sure that the goal, the overall objective of the multinational is still achieved. Let me, expatiate this. What we are saying here is this, that as a result of the size and scope of the multinational, uses this attribute, to establish a central, a central system that enables it to control the different, branches or subsidiaries that are in different, entities. And at the same time, these operations are decentralized in such a way that these subsidiaries, have their specific objectives, which is in congruence with the objective of the multinational. So it is possible to achieve goal congruence within the multinational as a result of this structure that we are discussing now. So flexibility is a factor. This kind of thing, the flexibility, often enables them to, offset or escape from regulations and controls in certain sections, or, in certain areas that they operate. So issues of transfer pricing, credit terms, loans, and other issues, are some of the, tools that the multinationals, use in their operations. So let's look at the pros and cons of the multinational companies. The pros and cons of multinational companies. One, they ensure optimum utilization of resources, both in the domestic and foreign countries, foreign companies where they operate. They also represent risk-taking enterprise for advancement, development, and provision of services. Thirdly, they provide capital investments when we are urgently needed. All right. Let me explain this. The home country, usually will provide capital investment to the subsidiaries wherever they are, as the case may be, as the need arises. So they also assist in the development of emerging nations and distant regions by generating investment multiplier effects and invisible trade. Lastly, they are leaders in innovation, business methods, and financial practices. These are some of the pros and cons of multinational companies. Let's look at the disadvantages of multinational companies. One, they tend to exploit national resources. They tend to exploit national resources. In the environments where they operate, there are cases where multinationals take advantage of the loopholes in that area and exploit the resources of that place. Secondly, they create tensions in the host countries, in the political, social, and economic system. Yes, as a result of their size, as a result of their large scale of oppression, we discussed earlier that they wield so much power and influence that in some cases, in the very countries where they operate, they dabble into the political system and economic system of that country, and create some problems there. Thirdly, they foster excessive nationalism and anti-company feelings. They foster excessive nationalism and anti-company feelings. Fourthly, number 4, they exercise arbitrary control over their operations in the host countries to the exclusion of local factors. Yes, because of their size, because of their influence, because of the politics they play, taking advantage of their size and influence, they tend to take advantage of the local, local factors or local companies there, and operate, to the detriment. They operate to the detriment of these locals or local companies in the environment where they operate. Lastly, they constitute crippling competition in local enterprise. Yes, we are still saying the same thing, that their activities, generate unhealthy competition that is not favorable to local companies, because of their size, because of the amount of resources they wield and things like that. They can use a pricing system that will affect small companies within the environments where they operate locally, so making it difficult for other businesses to thrive, and also making the environment uncompetitive for other companies. Now, we look at multinationals and consolidated financial statements. Multinationals and consolidated financial statements. Now, consolidated financial statement means combination or combining separate financial statements of 2 or more companies, into a single financial statement. What do I mean? Taking the financial statement of A, B, C, combining it or fuse it to become one single set of financial statement. That is consolidated financial statement. Now, a consolidated financial statement will now look as if it is the consolidated statement of a single company. Multinationals are often required by the countries in which they do business to set up separate corporations in those countries. So the point is that the legal entity is not necessarily the same as the economic entity. So from the economic point of view, the activities of these various legal entities are centrally administered from the home country, that is the headquarters. So the intent of consolidated financial statement is to provide accounting information about the group. Excuse me. About the group of companies from the overall perspective. All right, that is from the group perspective. Now, accounting issues of multinational companies. Accounting issues of multinational companies. Well, we look at them. These issues include issues of accounting standards. 1, 2, issues of foreign exchange fluctuations and translations. 3, issues of diversity in economic factor. 4, capital budgeting issues. These are the 4 key accounting issues in multinational corporations. Now we look at them. The accounting standard issue. Accounting standard issues. Like we said, accounting standards vary from one country to the other, and this influences significantly the overall financial reporting system. However, with IFRS now being adopted by Nigeria and some other countries as a universal accounting standard, it makes the reporting system much easier and streamlined than before, when we have various countries with different accounting standards. All right, so IFRS has reduced that differences that we could see in accounting issues, differences that could arise maybe from asset measurement, financial instruments, employee benefits, even revenue recognition and all that. So all these issues affect the report being produced by by the financial reporting system. All right, you look at the case like those who may use last in first out system, as is allowed by the GAAP, and then while other standards may like IFRS may not allow that. So these differences are issues that we that are worth looking at as far as the multinational corporations are concerned. All right, we look at the foreign exchange fluctuations, really, that because these companies operate in different localities, in different countries, now foreign exchange issues become very, very important to look at. For example, foreign exchange issue in Nigeria, as it is today, is a challenging issue because of the economic challenges we are facing today. So if you look at the fluctuations, these fluctuations, generate translation issues as well. So the translation process, sometimes in the form of transaction or financial statements, is influenced by these exchange rates, volatilities. So that's what we need to know about the exchange rate fluctuations and translations. That the exchange rate, fluctuations do affect translation, at the end of the day. Diversity in economic factors as another issue that we need to look at in the multinational companies is very, very important. Issues like inflation, is a macroeconomic factor. So the level of inflation in different countries also affect accounting treatment, because the historical cost concept, and the fair value, measurement system are entirely, two different things, and this is as a result of the level of inflation in a particular environment. So where there is a hyperinflation or a high inflation in a particular environment, in a particular country, it becomes an issue, because the accounting system, it will affect the accounting system, and because of the measurement of the valuation of assets and then financial instruments in those businesses. So consolidation issues, will arise. Consolidation challenges will definitely arise once you have this kind of distortions caused by inflation. Now, capital budgeting issues is also worth discussing. In a multinational setting, capital budgeting issues is quite complicated, because you are looking at the objective of the multinationals vis-a-vis the objective of the subsidiaries, operating in different areas. So at the end of the day, to marry these objectives also, becomes an issue. And all these are the tool for achieving, all these objectives is capital budgeting. The home country will have, a budget, to achieve the overall objective, while the subsidiaries also will also have a budget that is meant to achieve their own specific objective, which has to be in congruence with the parent company budget. So financial risks, issues of financial risk, issues of political risks, they really affect the capital budgeting, issues, capital budgeting mechanisms, of the multinational company. Political risks, economic risks, and financial risks are key issues that we need to know that affect the capital budgeting of multinational companies. So such factors as interest rate, exchange rate, and so on, and the level of risk, of the different, affect the level of risk of the specific countries in which they operate. So to that extent, now we have finished our study on session 5, and like I said at the beginning of this session, we are expected to learn certain basic things, which includes the concept of multinational companies, the characteristics of multinational companies, the pros and cons of multinational companies, then a discussion of the multinational companies in relation to consolidated financial statement, and lastly, accounting issues around multinational companies. So with this, we have actually come to the end of session 5, and I want to say thank you for listening.